Picture this. It is 2 in the morning. The house is quiet. And somewhere in the dark, your cat has silently navigated across the covers, tucked itself against your legs, and started to purr. You probably smiled, pulled the blanket a little tighter, and drifted off without thinking twice. But here is what nobody ever told you. In that single moment, something deeply biological was happening inside your body. Something scientists have only recently begun to fully understand. And when you hear what it actually is, the way you look at that cat curled up beside you will never be the same. The first thing that happens when your cat settles in for the night is almost impossible to detect with your conscious mind. Your body detects the rhythm of your cat breathing, and without your permission, without any effort on your part, your nervous system begins to follow it. Scientists call this process interspecies bio-entrainment, and it is one of the most quietly remarkable things that can happen inside a human body. Here is how it works. Your cat, resting peacefully, breathes in long, slow, steady cycles. Your subconscious brain, which is always scanning the environment for patterns, picks up on that rhythm and begins to mirror it. Your own breathing slows down and deepens to match, and the moment that happens, a cascade of events triggers inside your chest that changes the chemistry of your entire body. When humans breathe at those lower, slower frequencies, a phenomenon called respiratory sinus arrhythmia amplifies dramatically. It sounds alarming, but it is actually the opposite. It means your heart rate is fluctuating in a perfectly healthy rhythm with each breath, a direct signal that your parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest and recovery, has taken control of the wheel. A nerve in your body called the vagus nerve, one of the longest in your entire system, gets activated. It sends a chain reaction of signals that suppress your stress hormones, quiet your heart, and wash your nervous system in the neurochemical equivalent of a warm bath. All because your cat breathed next to you. The Mayo Clinic ran a study that tried to put hard numbers on what cat owners had suspected for years. Over 6 months, researchers followed 150 patients, tracking sleep quality with actual clinical accelerometers. What they found dismantled one of the most common pieces of medical advice given to poor sleepers for decades, which was to get the animal out of the bedroom. 41% of people sleeping with their pets actively reported better sleep, and the objective data backed them up. Human sleep efficiency, meaning the actual percentage of time in bed spent in restorative sleep, stayed firmly in the optimal range of 81 to 86%. The cat was not robbing people of sleep. For most people, it was quietly guarding it. Now, here is the part that genuinely surprised researchers. When a cat physically rests its body weight on your chest, your legs, or your torso, it is doing something functionally identical to a medical intervention that therapists prescribe for anxiety, PTSD, and sensory processing disorders. It is called deep pressure stimulation. The gentle, consistent weight of the cat activates specialized nerve receptors just beneath your skin. These receptors send signals rushing up through your nervous system to your brain. And what follows is a surge in serotonin, the chemical your brain uses to stabilize your mood. Serotonin is also the direct biological ingredient your pineal gland uses to make melatonin, which is the hormone that controls your sleep cycle. So the physical weight of your cat is quite literally helping your brain manufacture the chemical it needs to pull you into deep, restorative sleep. Simultaneously, cortisol, your primary stress hormone, drops, and oxytocin, the bonding neuropeptide, floods in to fill the space. Your cat climbed onto you for warmth, but it triggered a pharmacological chain reaction in your brain that no pill on the market can replicate. And then there is the purring. Most people think of it as background noise, something charming, something soothing, but ultimately just a sound. Here is what it actually is. A cat purr is not just acoustic, it is mechanical energy, a vibration. And it falls within a very specific frequency range of 20 to 150 Hz. The dominant frequencies, the ones your cat sustains most powerfully, cluster right around 25 to 50 Hz. Scientists in sports medicine, orthopedic rehabilitation, and aerospace research know those numbers very well. Because 25 to 50 Hz is the exact therapeutic window proven in clinical settings to stimulate bone growth. When those low-frequency vibrations travel from your purring cat through your skin and into your body, they create a microscopic mechanical strain on your skeletal structure. Your bone cells respond by suppressing the cells that break bone down, while simultaneously activating the cells that build new bone up. You are not just feeling soothed, you are receiving passive acoustic mechanotherapy while you sleep. The implications of that stretch further than you might expect. NASA, trying to solve the catastrophic bone loss astronauts experience in zero gravity, funded extensive research into vibration therapy. The technology they developed to protect astronaut skeletons in space operates on precisely the same frequencies your cat generates naturally. Your cat evolved the purr as an internal survival mechanism. Because felines sleep up to 16 hours a day, and lying still for that long causes muscles to atrophy and bones to weaken in almost any mammal, the purr allowed them to stimulate their own skeletal system without burning precious energy. Arresting predator using internal vibration to stay structurally battle-ready. And as a side effect, everyone who sleeps next to that predator gets the same treatment for free. Researchers at the University of Minnesota tracked more than 4,000 Americans over a decade and found that cat owners were 30% less likely to die from a heart attack or stroke than people who had never owned one. 30%. That is not a rounding error. That is the cumulative result of daily cortisol suppression, lowered blood pressure, reduced systemic inflammation, and the sustained cardiovascular protection that comes from living alongside something that triggers your parasympathetic nervous system every single night. Now, here is the one that sounds completely backwards until you understand the biology. If you have a young child and a cat is sleeping in the home, your child is becoming less likely to develop allergies, not more likely. Every human infant is born with an immune system that is heavily skewed toward what scientists call a Th2 profile. This happens by design during pregnancy to prevent the mother's body from attacking the baby. But after birth, that Th2 dominance becomes a liability. It is the biological state that drives allergic reactions, asthma, and eczema. The infant's immune system needs a specific kind of biological boot camp to shift out of that reactive state, and a cat is one of the most effective instructors it can have. Cats constantly shed harmless microbes, skin proteins, and environmental endotoxins into the air and onto surfaces. When a baby breathes these in, those particles bind to receptors on immune cells and trigger a recalibration. The immune system starts producing regulatory cells that teach it to stand down when it encounters things that are harmless. It learns tolerance. A massive study following nearly 100,000 Japanese children found that fetal and early infant exposure to cats significantly reduced the incidence of food allergies, including egg, wheat, and soy, by age 3. Not cat allergies, completely unrelated food allergies. The cat was not the enemy of the immune system. It was the teacher. Now here is the question that stops people in their tracks. Why does your cat sometimes choose not to sleep with you? If co-sleeping is so beneficial, why does your cat get up in the middle of the night and leave? The answer has nothing to do with rejection. It is pure biology. And it is fascinating. Cats sleep very differently from humans. They are not built to power down for 8 hours straight. They move through multiple shorter sleep cycles, each lasting roughly 50 to 100 minutes, and in between, their brains perform what researchers call micro-awakenings. These are incredibly brief neurological events, lasting only a few seconds, where the cat jolts to full sensory awareness to scan the environment for threats before dropping back into sleep. It is an ancient survival program that cannot be switched off. Now imagine attempting that delicate process next to a human who is snoring, shifting, and throwing arms around. The sensory input overwhelms the cat's micro-awakening window. It cannot complete its sleep cycle in peace. So it leaves. Not because it does not love you, because its nervous system will not let it stay. There is also a temperature issue that almost no one talks about. A cat's normal body temperature sits between 100 and 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than ours. They seek warmth to maintain that temperature without burning extra calories, so they climb into bed. But cats have almost no ability to sweat the way humans do. They cannot dump excess heat through their skin. When the body heat from you and the insulation of your blankets pushes the microclimate past their thermal limit, they have one option: leave and find a cool floor. That is not a mood. That is a thermostat. And here is the piece of science from a 2025 study published in Current Biology that will completely change how you see your cat the next morning. Researchers analyzing the sleeping positions of hundreds of cats discovered something no one had expected. Cats show a strong statistical preference for sleeping on their left side. And this is not a comfort thing, it is neurological defense. Because of the way the optic nerves cross inside the brain, your left visual field feeds directly into the right hemisphere, which is the hemisphere specialized for detecting threats, processing danger, and coordinating rapid escape responses. By sleeping on the left side, the cat ensures that when it snaps awake during a micro-awakening, its dominant threat detection hemisphere has an immediate, unobstructed view of the room. If you look across the bedroom and see your cat curled on the floor near the door, resting on its left shoulder, it is not sulking. It is positioned at the optimal tactical angle to protect your shared space while you are unconscious and defenseless. Your cat left the bed and became your sentry. That brings us to the deepest and most underappreciated truth in all of this. Choosing to sleep near a human, to actually close its eyes, slow its heart, and surrender to unconsciousness in the presence of a much larger, unpredictable species, represents a biological leap that most people have never fully considered. Sleep for a solitary predator is the most dangerous thing it does. During REM sleep, the body goes into a state of temporary paralysis. The muscles stop responding. The animal cannot run, cannot fight, cannot defend itself. In the wild, that vulnerability can be fatal, and yet your cat chose to do it next to you. Researchers at Oregon State University tested the emotional bonds between cats and humans using the same attachment experiments designed for human infants. They found that 64% of domestic cats form what psychologists classify as secure attachment to their owners, the same percentage observed in securely bonded human children. Your cat does not view you as a food dispenser. It views you the way a child views a trusted parent, as the person it runs to when the world feels dangerous, the person next to whom it is safe enough to let its guard completely down. So the next time you feel that familiar weight settle onto the covers in the dark, and that low vibration starts filling the quiet, understand what is actually happening. Your nervous system is being recalibrated. Your bones are being reinforced. Your heart is being protected. And a creature whose entire evolutionary history screams danger, solitude, and hypervigilance has chosen, consciously and willfully, to be most vulnerable right next to you. That is not a pet habit. That is a profound declaration of trust from an apex predator. If this changed the way you see your cat, drop a comment below and tell us where your cat sleeps tonight. And if you want to keep going deeper into what your cat is actually doing and why, subscribe, and stay with us. Everything your cat does has a reason, and most of those reasons will blow your mind.